of map presence at any given time. So then, of course, there's this play in the mid lane where Alliance is feeling kind of desperate at this point. They realize that they're not going to outscale the Copenhagen Wolves. With the Kayle, with the Shyvana, in the late game, they're not going to be able to do a whole lot. So Shook is like, okay guys, I'm going in. He does go in and then kind of has to run away. And he gets an ultimate, but it's an ultimate trade. And it just kind of shows that Alliance is feeling pretty desperate. They're not feeling too good at this point. And rightfully so. They're definitely at a disadvantage. So then Copenhagen Wolves actually realizes the dragon's spawning pretty soon. So at this point, they just want to control the mid lane and siege this, clear waves, wait for dragon to come up so that they can take that quickly, because they have Lucian, because they have Kayle, because they have Elise. There's not much that Alliance can do to stop them at dragon. It does force them to go into an area where Alliance might have a little bit of an advantage, because in the jungle, this pit composition of Alliance is a little more effective, but that's where the Kayle and the Lulu come in. You can't pick off any member of Copenhagen Wolves, because it's just so hard to kill them unless they're spread really far apart. So in about 30 seconds, the dragon spawns. Copenhagen Wolves has control of the mid lane, so they're going to rotate and take dragon. So, and this is where we kind of see Alliance are starting to give up a little bit. Alliance really should try to start a fight here instead of just giving away the dragon. You know, they're trying to aggressively pressure this dragon, but it's not up yet. There's not much they can do. So they actually do get there first, but they can't take it fast because they don't have Lucian or Kayle or Elise, whereas the Copenhagen Wolves do. So the Copenhagen Wolves, with their advantage, are able to just zone them off. And excuse me, eventually they'll take it. But right now they're just sieging around the dragon. They're both kind of poking at each other, looking at each other, trying to control the map. And Kautzhard makes a really good decision to push up the mid lane, because right now Alliance is very indecisive. They need to decide either to engage on the Copenhagen Wolves here while Kayle is gone, which I think would have been a really good decision, because without Kayle, the Wolves are a lot more vulnerable. But Kayle's pushing up this mid lane, so I still think that Copenhagen Wolves, if Alliance had started a fight, would have won that, but it would have been Alliance's best shot here, because right now they just are indecisive. This Kayle gets the mid lane pushed up, and Alliance just does nothing. They don't stop the dragon, which they try to. They try to go in here and do something, but it's too late for them. So, I mean, an indecisive call for Alliance causes Copenhagen Wolves to get a free objective. And Copenhagen Wolves just played that siege at dragon much better than Alliance. And it worked out for them. They kind of... It was actually a very smart play, because if you think about it objectively, the Kayle pick here, or the decision to put Kayle in mid to push it out, is very risky, considering the main defense of your team lies in Kayle's ultimate. But Kayle was not there, so... but what it does is they realize that throughout the game, Alliance has been very indecisive about their rotations. They've been pretty slow about making decisions and play calls, and Copenhagen Wolves decided to capitalize on that. They gave them a split decision, and Alliance couldn't make the decision fast enough. So, of course, they get that fight. And look at the culling on the bottom lane, clearing out that wave. So, Lucian, the power of Lucian, really effective. Then 38-30, bot siege. Both teams rotate down here. It actually must have skipped. I don't really know what happened in the meantime, but it did. Oh no, Kaltard's recalling. So really good decision for Forgiven to clear out the way, because he realizes Alliance is actually rotating to this bottom lane to get the tower. But the minion wave is gone for them, so they can't actually do much. They try to get this tower, they try to get damage in, but Tabs is just completely zoned out. There's too much of a threat from the Copenhagen Wolves because of how much stronger they are. And at this point, now that the entire team of Copenhagen Wolves is here, there's not a whole lot that Alliance can do with their team composition. They really should try to rotate into the jungle, because this is one of the rare times when they have map control. They should try to rotate into the jungle and set up a pick. But I think Copenhagen Wolves is probably a little smarter than that. I think they probably wouldn't fall for that, especially considering how many wards they have down. They would have a pretty good idea of where Alliance is. So, and that shows, you know, having the Lucian pick versus not having it, which is kind of the main thing that I wanted to highlight in this game. You know, the Lucian pick made a big difference. So then let's fast forward to 41 minutes. So we have the siege in the mid lane. And actually, one thing that I want to talk about real quick is, you know, we've been seeing a lot more sieges on the bottom lane than the top lane, and the reason for that is that at this point in the game, controlling the bottom lane is so much more important than controlling the top lane, because if you get the bottom inhibitor, then you can easily get Baron, because it's so far away from Baron. Unless the opposing team has a teleport and can just clear the wave and then come fight you, getting this bottom inhibitor means that if someone goes down there to hold it, you can just basically take Baron for free. So that's why there's a lot of sieging on the bottom. But now there's this siege in mid, and we're going to see it kind of rotate down into the bottom lane. So they push up aggressively because they have so much power to push here, and they make another very extremely crisp rotation, and they take advantage of the fact that they have this Lucian to just extremely quickly take out this tower before Alliance is even able to respond. Alliance, you know, if you look at their team comp and you think about those concepts of sieging, Alliance doesn't have the ability to quickly take Baron. So Copenhagen Wolves feels pretty safe here rotating to the bottom, because if Alliance tries to respond by taking Baron, there's not a whole lot they can do about it. You know, they'll start the Baron, and then Copenhagen Wolves will rotate and catch up to him. So then let's actually fast forward to 43 minutes when Copenhagen Wolves now is going for Baron. They have that push going on in the bottom lane, which is very good for them. They have the mid lane neutral at least. Alliance realizes what's going on, and we see a really good play from the Copenhagen Wolves. Actually, never mind, I lied. I thought that this was a different thing. But anyway, Shook tries to get in here to steal Baron. It doesn't work, and actually Alliance's positioning here was like really terrible. Actually the setup for that Baron was this kill on Wicked, just due to a kind of weird rotation. Alliance tried to make an aggressive play on the bottom, didn't work out. Wicked goes down. They were lucky that it was just Wicked, but okay, they rotate, take the Baron. Another really crisp rotation, by the way. And oh my god, they all missed the pink ward. Whatever, not a big deal, because they want to kill the Baron quickly, which they with their team composition have the power to do, as opposed to Alliance. But Alliance's positioning here is terrible, because you see Gragas is over here. Gragas is an amazing Baron stealer with, especially on purple side, with his barrel and explosive cask. But like so many times in this game, we've seen Froggen in a bad position. He didn't put himself in a position where he could steal any of these dragons. He didn't put himself in a position where he could steal this Baron. He was in the bottom lane that one time when Copenhagen Wolves rotated top. So Froggen's kind of playing bad this game. Not to put Froggen down, he's an amazing player, but then Shook, being, you know, tries to do something good for his team, tries to get the steal here, but it just doesn't work out. Smite's a little early, and amazing, being Elise, is able to easily get the smite on Baron, because he can just do that about 1,500 damage burst, and Lulu actually goes down there, which is a little unfortunate. But then we see Tabs just get chased after. Young Buck, being Shyvana, is so huge, not much Tabs can do about it, and between Amazing and Young Buck, they manage to take him out, and Nif tries his best to peel, but he can't do it. So this honestly just comes down to Froggen being in a bad position in the Baron siege, and you know, even if Froggen was there to try to steal the Baron, it was still pretty close to a 50-50. But you know, then if Shook went in for the smite steal, it would have been just Shook dying. If Tabs went in, it wouldn't have had to be in that position because they could just try to steal it. But that's not what they did. So then Copenhagen Wolves now has Baron. So at this point, this is where we get to see some pretty good effective sieging, because when your team has Baron, you have a large enough advantage that if you just sit in a lane for long enough, you can eventually get that tower, and they're not going to try and stop you because they're so far behind. So a really good hook there, but again, they stack everything on top of this intervention. So Forgiven eventually goes down, but he takes Caitlyn with him. And Copenhagen Wolves are at such a big advantage that now, even without Forgiven, they're able to take down the tower and zone away the members of Alliance, so that there's really nothing that can be done. Young Buck, being a man, zoning out the members of Alliance. So, good siege there. Just realizing how big of an advantage they had, and a little bit of a positional error by Forgiven. But I mean, when you think about it, it's not even a positional error because he got so many cooldowns used on him during that intervention. So then 47-30, we get to see the last siege of the game. The Copenhagen Wolves, I actually think that given a choice, they should have sieged this bottom lane, because of course that gives you better control over Baron. Now a lot of times you'll see teams do that, even if Baron's not going to be up anytime soon. They'll siege the bottom lane because they know if something goes wrong and they manage, like if they get the bottom inhibitor but something goes wrong, like they lose a team fight or something, then they have control over this bottom lane. Like they don't even have to give the inhibitor. If it's pushed up, then the other team has to deal with that. So you know, as far as just, you know, what the best thing to do would have been, I think it would have been better to push the bottom lane rather than the top lane. But at this point, there's not a whole lot that that Alliance is going to do to stop them. I don't really like that ultimate from Forgiven. I think that he could have used it to clear minions instead of try to get some poke down. But you know, Copenhagen Wolves are so far ahead that it would be hard for them to lose this game. So Alliance needs to force a fight if they want to even have a chance.